First of all, I'm Wayne Dolcefino. I'm the president of Dolcefino Consulting, and I represent Prime Social, and I will be addressing the issues of the club's reopening. Joe Magliolo and Zach Fertitta are the lawyers for Prime Social, and if they have an opening statement, they can give it, and then we can take questions. But this was more done to sort of answer some of the questions that were coming in.
Let me tell you how we got involved in this. The Prime Social people come in and ask for some help. They are absolutely in shock because their establishment, Poker Club, was raided and 4 of their employees were put in jail. Well, they felt responsible for the employees because they told the employees that they were operating within the law, and they thought they were operating within the law. And the reason they thought they were operating within the law was because of the person who worked for the district attorney's office told them they were. So they were shocked, they didn't understand it, and they wanted help. So we investigated it, and they told us a story, and we investigated the story, and it turned out to be, as best as we could from our investigation, true. We took that information and took it to the DA's office, because I know Kim Ogg since we were prosecutors together in the 80s. She's, a good prosecutor, a smart person, and we figured there was just stuff she did not know. We took it to the DA's office, brought the supporting documents with it, gave it to them, and said, "Okay, guys," which is kind of unusual to do in a criminal case, is bring them all the information that they don't have. You guys look at this and do the right thing. And sure enough, they examined it. I think Kim took a personal interest in it and examined the information. And next thing we heard, the cases against the 4 defendants were dismissed. The money was being returned, and they referred it to the U.S. Attorney's Office to do a investigation, or perhaps something more interesting than playing poker.
And what was the story you took to Kim Ogg that made her decide to withdraw?
The Prime Social folks went to a prominent law firm who worked with people that are in the gambling business. They said, "Look, we want to be within the law. What do we do?" Partner of that law firm sends them to a fella who worked for the DA's office, who convinces the Prime Social people that he's working on an ordinance for legal poker in Houston. And he convinces them that their business plan is consistent with the ordinance. So they believe they're operating what will be within the law, within the ordinance. And the ordinance is being drawn. In fact, they were even told that their business plan is so good that the ordinance is going to be patterned after their business plan. They were told that they would be first in line to get a license to operate their poker room. And that license was going to cost them $250,000. And that these people who were working together to do the ordinance were also in charge of vetting the people that got the license. And they would vet them and make sure that they were fit within the ordinance. So they believed they were being vetted, they believed they were within the ordinance, and they believed the ordinance was soon to be drafted and passed based on this representative or the person who worked at the DA's office representations to them. Time drew on, it kept going, it kept going, it kept going. No ordinance, no license, no ordinance, no license. Finally, they got suspicious. They started asking questions. They were told not to ask any questions or something bad would happen to them. And within a couple of weeks, the clubs were raided and their employees were arrested.
So we're talking about Mr. Myers Kandari. I mean, that name is out there.
There's a federal investigation,
right,
and they're going to investigate it. I'm not going to put I'm personally not going to put anybody's name into this mix. That's up to the people who are investigated, because obviously we know what it felt like for people's name to be listed who got arrested, charged with felonies, who weren't guilty. So I'm not.
Was there anybody else that they communicated with that was going to help them get an ordinance?
Yes, there were, and
All right.
that's subject of the federal investigation, I hope.
All right. So
But
it might not be Mr. Myers Kandari you're talking about.
Again, that's up to the feds, and they're going to figure out who did what to whom. I will tell you, though, that it turns out that at least in our investigation, and we shared it with the DA's office, at least 2 other groups were, who were poker groups, were involved with this, or told about the ordinance with the same people who said they were drafting it. One being a representative, well, I don't claim a representative of the DA's office, but one being an employee of the DA's office.
How much money did your clients give to this person that you don't want to name?
$500,000.
$500,000.
Yeah. And some of the other poker groups gave them additional money.
Have they recovered any of that?
No.
Have they tried?
Yes. When they tried to recover it is when they were told that something bad was going to happen to them shortly before the raid.
Zach, want to add anything about the club, the employees, the other club feels that they've been vindicated and the problems that it's caused the club?
Absolutely. This story is about more than just a poker club being shut down. It's a legitimate business that was shut down with professionals working in it whose families depended on their paychecks. We're just glad that the DA's office has quickly and professionally investigated this, and those employees can now get back to work.
Do you guys plan any future litigation against the DA's office or anything for mishandling this, or the reputation of these businesses might be ruined? Any kind of future litigation or lawsuits to try to make up for some of those lost wages?
We're a criminal defense law firm. That's what we defend.
Our job was to get the cases dismissed and get their money returned to them, and we've pretty much fulfilled that.
Is there any worry opening again in the future that there could be problems down the road?
We're doing that.
That's not my field, but I think it'd be fair to say the gambling statutes are a little unclear, and they can be interpreted in many different ways. So it all is in the kind of like what they say, beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
If I can help real quickly, just from the since I'm the spokesman for the club for those kind of issues. First, we are already beginning to work to reopen Prime Social. We hope to have it done in the next few weeks, and look forward to letting everybody know exactly when we will reopen. Remember, there were 11,000 members of this club when it was raided. I think one of the frustrating things for the club, I think there's a couple, besides for the fact that they got shaken down, right, for money, is that, number one, these guys wanted to do everything by the book. They wanted to be a business that contributed back to the community, which is why they held so many charity drives. They wanted to give back. They held charity drives with the Houston Police Department, for gosh sakes, over Christmas, right? So their frustration is, after doing everything by the book, they then get raided. And what makes their suspicions worse after the raid is that all these other places doing exactly the same thing with the exact same business model are open for business, and no one is saying a word. Now, if you remember historically, just for those of you who haven't kept up, there was a request to the Attorney General to rule on the legality of these clubs. And essentially, the AG decided to not rule, right? There are clubs operating in other cities that totally legally, and everything's fine. There were a number of opportunities after that for a number of different government agencies to say, since it's local option, we've decided we don't like the option. The county attorney's office could have done that, the district attorney's office could have done that, the Houston Police Department could have done that. At no time in this year-and-a-half period you can check, not a single club was ever cited for doing anything wrong, right? And so and Zach mentioned it, I mean, the damage to the people that just for making a living working there is substantial. There's, a number of people that have to hire criminal defense lawyers, right, to do this. And so, I mean, this club will never worry about any criminal investigations because they have been doing it by the book since day one.
Now, I'll tell you the interesting thing about Prime Social. And remember, they weren't charged with gambling. They were charged with money laundering. Prime Social, trying to do the right thing, hired Houston police officers to take their money from the club to their bank and put it in their account with their name on it. I would ask that if anybody could find any money launderer who hires Houston police officers to put their money in a bank with their account, with their name on the account, I challenge anybody to find a money launderer that would do that.
When
So,
did Prime Social originally open?
I'm sorry?
When did they originally open? How long have they been in business?
It was January of
2018.
18. They even were evaluated by the FBI, came in. They showed the FBI their computer money laundering program, computer money laundering prevention program, which is the same kind that the casinos in Vegas use. So it will score if anybody gets too much money, doesn't report it, doesn't do the right thing with it. And the FBI agents complimented them on their anti-money laundering program and said they wished all businesses like that had that sophisticated a program. That's how hard these guys were working to do the right thing, be within the law, and that's why they were so shocked when they were raided and their employees put in jail.
How long were they in jail for, the employees?
I'm sorry?
How long were they in jail for?
A couple of days till they bonded out. I don't know. How long were those employees in
Day
jail?
and a half.
So now this is all up to the FBI to determine if a crime's been committed,
Yes.
correct? Have you talked to them at all in any length?
I have not.
You have not?
We've talked to the federal prosecutors. I was a federal prosecutor for 25 years, so that's why this is, and I tried money laundering cases, and that's why this was to hear that they got the Houston Police Department to take their money to the bank and put it in their account. I can tell you that's not normal money launderer behavior.
Have at any point you guys met with Ken Paxton?
I have not.
No.
How long before all the money's returned?
I don't know. But when the DA's office, they say they're going to return it, they will return it.
And it said $206,000 collected during the seizures. Is that just all Prime Social money, or is that between
Prime
the two?
Social money.
That's all.
During the raid, and I think one bank account had a small amount of money in it.
The $500,000, there's no lawsuit filed to try to reclaim that, I take it.
No, I think we're hoping that the federal investigation will uncover who took that money, where it went, and maybe where it currently is. We believe that we were victims of a fraud, much as I believe that the DA's office was also a victim of a fraud.
And Prime Social, how do you get your members to come back, since the FBI is still considering this? How do you get them to come back to a business that is being looked into by the FBI and they can trust that they're doing something legal?
Well, you're helping us right now, but besides for that, look, this was the fastest growing private poker club in the country, bar none. There is no way that these people are going to be under investigation by public corruption people at the FBI. There is right now no allegation of any criminality by these guys. This club is going to reopen like the 20 or 30 other clubs that are open right now, and that's part of the frustration, right? You're getting busted for doing what 20 or 30 other people are doing. There are clubs that have opened up in the last few weeks in Harris County. Um, uh, since Prime Social is doing it by the book, they will welcome the FBI to come in there anytime for a visit and to have a bite to eat and to watch people have a good time. Because when you're not doing nothing, you don't have to worry about nothing.
And they also are already fully cooperating with the DA's office, with the federal investigation, and will cooperate with it in the future.
So back to my question, had you, the clients met, Prime Social, had they met with Ken Paxton at any point?
I wasn't at any meeting, and so I don't really know. But they did meet. They did meet with many community type leaders and governmental leaders to try to make sure that they were within the law. And no one of the many leaders, including other county DAs, people in the Houston hierarchy, no one believed that they were acting in an illegal manner. In fact, they were invited to put other clubs in other jurisdictions. They were also to get Houston police officers to work security at the club, which they wanted. Again, not something you would think criminals would do. They have to be vetted by the Houston Police Department. They were vetted by the Houston Police Department, and initially at least, Houston police officers were allowed to work, current Houston police officers were allowed to work off duty in the poker room. And again, the whole idea is to give someone a safe place to go play cards.
Do you know when that meeting happened with all the different,
Most of this happened during 2018.
okay, and the purpose was to find out if they were in the right legally?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So if I can help just a tad on that, the club did make what they thought were political contributions to a political action committee. The feds will figure out if that money ever ended up there or somewhere else. That's one thing. Number two, as part of their effort to sort of do it the right way, the club had wanted to open up a location in Fort Bend County, for instance. They were looking at a Cafe Adobe location over there, Highway 659 over there, and met with the Fort Bend County District Attorney and met with and talked to the city economic development people to see whether or not in advance they would approve. I mean, I guess it goes to what we've been sort of saying all along. These were not people trying to hide something. These were people that were going through the books with law enforcement and public officials, and they wanted people to come visit. They asked public officials to come visit their club because they wanted to see what a great, safe place it was. I mean, and would they rather have people gambling in some back door where someone's stealing money from the pot, or from a nice place where people are safe in their security?
Also, I've looked at Prime Social's records of where their money was spent and they are the most detailed records I've ever seen of any small business, keeping records of where every penny they spent went. And again, that's available to whoever needs it.
The
So
political
going-
contributions, are those part of the $500,000 you're talking about?
Yes.
So, how was that money, all of it, how was it classified? I mean, was some of it fees, some of it political contribution? I mean, how that
Yes, it's
work?
classified on their records as it for the actual purpose it went. If it's a political contribution, it will show a political contribution. If they understood it was going for a fee, then it would go for a fee. No matter what, it will show exactly what the purpose of the outflow of that money was.
Okay, but I'm trying to get a sense of what you're saying, the $500,000, how it was dispersed. And it was dispersed as either political fees or
200
or not political fees, political contributions.
$250,000 of that was for the license.
All right.
Who was that paid to?
I'm sorry?
The license, who was that paid to?
That was paid to the group, the group who was helping them get the license. That would be the person that was writing the ordinance, that they believe was writing the ordinance, the person that they believe was doing the vetting. Is who that money was given to. Again, it was given to them because they indicated that that would be the cost of the license to operate the poker room.
And just to go over it, you said that's not a name you're releasing.
I'm sorry.
You said that's not a name you're going to be sharing.
That's right. Those. It's so unfair. Again, I was a prosecutor for 36 years and just kind of a recent convert to the defense side. But I've seen the harm it does when someone's name is mentioned, associated with investigation. 2 years later, it's proved that they had nothing to do with it. But for 2 years, they go through a terrible, terrible time. So I don't mention anybody's name.
Right, except at the center of all this is a political consultant who also happened to be working for the DA, who I assume is the person you're saying was the fixer in all of this.
That's what the DA statement seems to say, that there was someone working in their office. Other people have named people. I am not going to name it.
Okay, but the person who was taking the $250,000, that was a district attorney's employee? No?
The DA statement indicated that someone who worked in their office, at least for a while as a consultant, was in some way involved in this, and I'm gonna let it stand at that.
Yeah, if I can have just a second, with the knowledge that the attorneys want to let the FBI do what they're going to do, I think it would be fair to say that there are three principal individuals that were the people that Prime Social dealt with during this whole period, who will also tell you that you asked the question about political contributions. When someone approaches you and says, this is a person you should make a political contribution through my political action committee, right? And you do it, your expectation is that money goes to the candidate. And I think one of the things that is going to be of interest is whether the campaign reports reflect that those contributions ever made it to those candidates. And I think that's a fair way to describe it. Anybody else? Okay, we'll keep you posted on Prime Social's opening. It's going to be a big media event. I'm going to be invited. You guys are going to be invited. Please come. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I again want to thank Kim Ogg's office for really looking at what we brought them, including those detailed records, and dismissing the case.